Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for Aldridge and Brownhills. I always say that we know when we've reached true equality in this place when we have as many rubbish women as we do rubbish men. Madam Deputy Speaker, can I just say that the Minister, the Home Office Minister, should be ashamed of how he attacked a Member of Parliament on this benches in the last debate, and I do hope that she raises a point of order to this House, because we're talking about the language in this place, and you know we should all be setting an example, and we've already seen at the weekend the member for Ashfield, Fareham and South West Northwark, their language.
Remind the Honourable Lady that if she's referring to members, I hope she will have notified them that she intends to do that.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I haven't notified them. I've just been so angry at I will withdraw naming them, Madam Deputy Speaker. But I thank the member for Ramsey and Southampton for calling out the language on both sides of the House. Madam Deputy Speaker, the member for Birmingham and Yardley is no longer in her place. When she started to read the list, it was heartbreaking. And when we saw the family members stand, it broke all of our hearts. And the thing is that the media is failing women. And as legislators, I feel that we are also failing women, because that list should be getting shorter every year, and it doesn't. And I think that in the short time that I have, there's just 3 things that I think that we can do as legislators to help stop the killing and abuse of women. And I want to thank the Level Up campaigners, Glamour magazine, for their tireless campaigning in this area. And I also want to thank the Minister for the productive discussions that we've had around language changes to IPSO, the Independent Press Standards Organisation Code. I think it's important that we have cross-party discussions around this, because what we're talking about is the safety of women. I mean, it's a shame that it hasn't happened yet. I do feel that the Minister understands the importance. Sometimes I think that there is a barrier there that's stopping her from making it happen. I don't know who the barrier, what the barrier is, but I do feel that the Minister understands the importance of it. The second thing I think that we need to do is to have 10 days paid domestic violence leave. And the third thing I think we need to do is to ensure that we have funding for refugees. And so let me start with the IPSO code. The way the press reports is often inaccurate, undignified, and prioritises sensationalist headlines over responsible reporting. Exactly. This, Madam Deputy Speaker, needs to be replaced with responsible reporting that tackles the root of domestic abuse and the dynamics of power control. We need to end victim blaming. By doing that, we will save lives. We need to improve and strengthen Clause 4. And as Level Up has says, Clause 4 states, the intrusion into grief or shock. In cases involving personal grief or shock, inquiries and approaches must be made with sympathy and discretion, and publication handled sensitively. These provisions should not restrict the right to report legal proceedings. Given the academic research on the negative impact of romantic framings and known damage caused to victims' families, Level Up recommends the Editor's Code Committee introduce a sub-clause to the effect of, in cases where a person has been killed by a partner or former partner, care should be taken not to use language which could frame the killing as an act of love, or which could be construed to blame the victim for their death. Exactly. This is the amendment that I think needs to be done with urgent effect. We cannot say that it is voluntary. It has to be something that is enshrined in the code. Madam Deputy Speaker, 1 in 4 women experience domestic abuse in their lifetime. I am sure that all the women in the chamber today have suffered some kind of domestic abuse or unwanted attention in their lifetime. And every 3 days, a woman is killed by a partner or ex-partner. None of these deaths have come out of the blue. Criminologists have established that when a woman is murdered by a partner, It marks the end of a sustained period of coercive control. Abuse does not end when relationship ends. In fact, that's the time when women are most vulnerable, when they leave a relationship. And so the moment someone leaves an abusive relationship is the moment they are at greater risk. That's why I urge the Minister to urge the government to look into a domestic abuse policy requiring employers to have a domestic abuse employment to provide up to 10 days paid leave. This is a policy that is enacted in Philippines, Australia and New Zealand, and by granting victims paid leave, those 10 days will actually save lives. And I think as legislators, there's no greater honour we can do in this place by passing legislation that saves lives. And Madam Deputy Speaker, to conclude, the third of my asks is extra money for refugees. Women's Aid Domestic Abuse Report 2024 states that they are asking for £189 million that's required for refugee services to be ring-fenced. 49% of organisations, almost 50% of organisations, has said that they are operating without funding. That means they are saving lives, but they're not being paid for it. Exactly. 79% of people that are using refugees need food banks. 62.5% of survivors are unable to leave their perpetrators because they can't afford to. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, the Level Up have an acronym, AIDA, A-I-D-A. A, accountability. Murder isn't a loss of control. It is the responsibility of the perpetrator. I, image. Centre images of victims, not the perpetrator. Don't put them next to each other. Use official photos that have been provided by the police or family, not from social media. Exactly. D, dignity. A victim's children, family and friends will read the coverage many times. They will be in grief and shock. Avoid sensational language or graphic and intrusive details. Dead women can't protect their families. And lastly, A, accuracy. Name the crime for what it is. It is fatal domestic abuse, not a horror or tragedy perpetrated by a monster or unknown evil. Use ONS national statistics for context on how many other women have been killed, because gender-based violence is a national and not a personal problem. It is not an isolated incident where many women are being killed each year. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.